Welcome back to another episode of Life Sucked in the Military. Just kidding. Well, you know, if you've watched the other videos, then you get what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched the other videos, then you should probably go back like 5 videos. So, in this one, first, please subscribe, comment if you've ever been in the military or you got family members in the military. I feel like everybody at least knows somebody that was in the military or had a family member in the military. Drop a comment below. We're going to discuss that one staff sergeant. Oddly similar to the one staff sergeant in boot camp. For some reason, this man just had a problem with me. It was always me doing something wrong. All the problems were always brought up to me. Everything. But when I came to him with solutions or things to try to do things better or to avoid the problem he is having, it always got turned down. And I never understood why. Procedures and policies and stuff, it changes all the time. The processes, the ways that we do things can be changed for the better. Oh, you guys don't want me to talk about ITX. We'll get into ITX in another video, and you will understand what I mean by procedures and ways of doing things. Eventually, they did have a massive conference call with the big old higher-ups that dealt with that stuff. But it took like 7 ITX crap shit before they finally were like, something's gotta change. Dude, after the second one, something should have changed, okay? But we're gonna talk about the staff sergeant. You know, in the military, to a certain extent, you gotta respect that rank, you know? But it's difficult to respect the rank when you don't care for the person wearing the rank. You know, that's the hard part, because you know there's so many other people that have worn that rank that you don't want to disrespect. But the one that was currently wearing it, honestly don't even know how that man was a staff sergeant. He said he had been NJP'd like 3 times and lost rank and pay and all that. How the fuck are you still a staff sergeant? Well, that's probably why he hadn't gotten promoted to gunny or warrant officer. So, but it just never made sense. I'm a very logical, very analytical person. 90% of the Marine Corps does not make any sense. That's why I said, like, why can't we change this? Why can't we try this? Why can't we do... Don't ask why. Just do what you're told. But there's a better way to do this. Like, I don't understand. I'll give you some examples. When everything got switched to QA teams, there was no accountability when it came to the magazines. So originally, when it was sections 1, 2, and 3, each section had their own range of magazines that were theirs. They had to make sure they were clean. They had to make sure the stack cards were up to date. They had to make sure everything was properly placed and everything inside the magazine, right? Had to make sure the outside was clean. And you knew, hey, if magazine 33 is busted, you knew exactly whose fault it was because someone was in charge of that section. When it got moved to QA teams, there were no more sections. So you could have had 3 different teams in the same magazine that day. So you don't know whose fault it was. You don't know who to blame. And nobody held anybody else accountable because everybody was in every single magazine. They needed to find a way to make people accountable because that made Record's job a lot harder. Because when you're inventorying, there's a number in the system, there's a number on the stack card, there's the physical amount of the stack, then there's the amount that's on the document that is given to Records. If those numbers match, you're golden. If they don't match, oh, we got a problem. But now you have to figure out, where is the problem? Is the problem in the system? Is the problem just the fact that it wasn't written correctly on the stack card? Is the problem the physical amount that's there? Or is the problem the math or something that's on the doc? The document that, comes down to Records. So then we needed to assign a team to go to that mag and verify everything for us, right? When you give verification counts, 2 different teams. You have to get 2 different inventories. One is not enough because that one can be wrong. To take 2 teams away from doing whatever else needs to get done in the wire was impossible. So then when you get 2 inventories back and the 2 don't match, you need a 3rd account. Because now how do we know whose is correct? Especially if they don't match the system. If you at least get one that is matching with the system, you can say, hey, I need somebody to double check that this is the right number. So at least they've got, kind of a number to go off. But if neither of them match the system, you got to get a 3rd person to count that. Different from the other 2. So to then take away a 3rd team, it was like impossible. So Staff Sergeant would go up and do inventories, but by himself. So I was given 1 inventory. And I was like, Staff Sergeant, I have to have a 2nd one. I can't do anything with just your 1. Or he would send a junior Marine up there to count it, which is not how that works. It's supposed to be 2 of you counting it, but then he would sign off on it. You're not supposed to do that. Okay. Sometimes the math would just be wrong on the doc. You're sitting there like, hang on, you had 10,000 rounds, you took away 1,500. How do you have 9,700? Or unless there was a unit that turned in ammo and we got the doc to issue out ammo before we got the doc returning it to the stack. That's a problem too. So you would think there would be better systems in place to handle the processing and the transactions of issuing, receiving, all that jazz, because it all gets mixed up. Unless we have all the docs, it doesn't make any sense. Well, that's what the stack card is for. Your stack card is basically like a checkbook. It's got the date, it's got the signature of the person who touched that stack, the lot number, all that jazz, so we know exactly what they took, the amount that the stack started at, the amount that they took, and the amount that was left over. If somebody adds it to the stack, they're supposed to do the same thing. Write it on a stack card. So at least if we don't have a physical document saying that they added 500 rounds to the stack. We can radio them and say, hey, can you check the stack card? We're missing a transaction down here because somebody's holding on to the dock up in the wire. Because you usually bring the docks down at the end of the day, right? Or once at lunchtime and once at the end of the day. But sometimes people are holding on to docks or they lose them. So if it's on the stack card, that helps us see, oh, okay, they added back the 500, but that was after you guys took the 17 or whatever. So that's how you ended up with this number. Okay, we match. We're good to go. Once I get that document, we will match. Everything will be fine. If there's not a transaction on the stack card, then we hope and pray that there's a document coming down to us. If there is a document that does not come down to us, then we have a problem. I would say 80% of the time they get sorted out with other docs. The times that they don't get sorted out with other docs are the times that we have to do endless amounts of causative research. Causative research entails going through every single transaction in the system, every single doc in the folder, every single stack card for like the last 6 months to a year if you need to figure out where we could have gone wrong. I don't think you guys understand how many documents we process in a week. But to go back 6 months to a year, that's an insane amount of documents and transactions. If you have people who don't file away the docs, or they don't put them in the right order, then you've got a problem. So usually, we were not able to leave for the day until all the documents were processed and everything matched. So usually the reasons why we were staying back was because records still processing documents and stuff, because they'd be like, all right guys, pack up, it's time to leave at 1600. Oh, but by the way, here's 175 docs we didn't bring you guys earlier. Oh, you know how long it's going to take me to process 175 docs? Luckily, not like hours. I'm pretty fast with it, especially when I had somebody who knew what they were doing in records, then we get it done even faster. But when you give me somebody who chicken finger pecks the fucking keys, no. So eventually, Staff Sergeant would make the records section stay back to do causative research when ammo didn't match in the system with what was on the stack. The problem with only records staying back is the fact that if the counts are off, guess what we need? We need somebody to drive up in the wire, 2 teams of 2, to go count and verify and double check the number that's on the stack. When everybody is gone, so you have nobody to go up there and verify the amount on the stack, why are we staying back? There's nothing we can do. Everybody else went home at like 1600, so at like 4 p.m., right? Even the chief warrant officer came in at like 5:30 and was like, why are you guys still here? And the staff started, oh, we're doing causative research, we're trying to figure this. At that point, that the chief warrant officer came in and questioned why we were still there, I quit. I gave up. I quit. I did not touch my computer for about 3 hours. And then this man goes, if you're not going to do any work, you can go home. There's nothing we can do. How many more hours are you guys it's almost 9 p.m. How many more hours are you guys going to sit here? One, we have to come into work tomorrow. So guess what? The problem's going to still fucking be here tomorrow. Two, just because you don't have a damn life outside of the work you do here at the CMA doesn't mean you need to keep us back. I got a freaking life outside of here, okay? You know when I stood night duty, that man stayed until like 9 p.m. almost every single day. Doing what? What were you doing? Like, so I got up and I left. However, though, I didn't have a car. And since everybody else was already gone, I had to start walking home. Well, the CMA is like 2 miles away from everything else in the base because of the explosives that we deal with. So it's like 9 at night. It's dark as fuck. I'm walking this long strip to make it back to the freaking PX or to somewhere. But at that point, I don't think I was in the barracks anymore. I think I was in a home on base because I was married at that point. So I would have had to walk even farther than the barracks by like another 2 miles or so. Luckily though, after walking for about 10 minutes, somebody pulled up in their car. It was like a gunny or something, and he was like, do you need a ride somewhere? And at first I was like, no, because part of me was like, stranger, I don't know you. But then I was like, it's a Marine, like we're on a Marine Corps base, like who else is going to be here other than a Marine, you know? But my initial reaction was, no, I ain't getting in your car, you know? But I ended up getting in his car, and he had asked me, like, what are you doing out here? Like, it's pitch fucking black, it's late as fuck, there's coyotes freaking there. Dude, I was like terrified to walk home, but I didn't have any other choice. Like, so I told him, you know, what was going on, and he was kind of just like, the fuck? And I was like, yeah, that's the unit that I work with. So yeah, I don't really have a choice here. So yeah, I ended up going home, but it's just like those little things that just makes you go like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, it's just so stupid. Every day for years you're dealing with. I'm telling you, it's just the repeated and compounding and piling up of all this crap. And when I tell you the little stories, it doesn't sound like it's a whole lot or that it's that bad, but when it's that you're dealing with it so often, it literally just blew my mind how stupid 90% of the things we did in the Marine Corps was. Like, every day, I didn't think it could blow my mind any more than the day before. And I'd come into work, and sure enough, I was like, every single day. And he even came in and screamed at me one time and cussed at me over nothing. He wasn't even anywhere near us. I was having a conversation with the sergeant. All I did was ask him a simple question. We had a checklist. So super quick, I'll get through this. We had a checklist of things we needed to do on a daily basis, being in records. The chief warrant officer was so fucking anal about that stupid fucking list. And every day it needed to be up on the cabinet. But half the time we would forget to stick it on the cabinet, right? So I asked the sergeant, can I tape a document holder to the cabinet and stick a bunch of the checklists in it so it's always on the cabinet, and we're not getting yelled at by Chief Warrant Officer Johnson every single day that I just said his name, whatever. But we're not getting yelled at him every single day that checklist isn't on the freaking thing. If we keep it up there, all we have to do now is just make sure it gets passed around and everybody signs it. But I don't have to worry about getting yelled at that it's not on the cabinet because there's a bunch in that thing. So I'm asking the sergeant, and we're having a normal conversation, like The sergeant's not yelling at me. I'm not yelling at him. We're not arguing. Like, I had asked him a simple question. I hear this man like running down the hallway. He literally comes like this close to my face. And he says something like, and he's screaming. He's like, shut the fuck up! Like, stop yelling at a fucking sergeant! And he's like screaming at me, and I was like, what the fuck did I do? Like, one, you were down the fucking hallway. You didn't hear a single word of our conversation. Two, none of us were yelling. Three, what pissed me off is the sergeant didn't say anything. If that was me and I was the sergeant, I would have been like, whoa, staff sergeant. We were having a normal conversation that was totally unnecessary. But that man was kind of afraid of like everybody, so. But I just. Like I said, every day my mind was just blown of the shit that happened in the Marine Corps. Like, I thought we were going to be held to such a higher standard. I thought it was going to be so much more organized. I thought it was going to be more structured. I thought it was going to be... My expectations for joining the military, the Marine Corps, it wasn't even close to what my expectations were. Like, it fell short in every single aspect. Like, I was baffled at what the Marine Corps actually was versus my thoughts and the stories that you're told about how the military is. Like, it's not like that, okay? But anyways, I'm gonna end this right here. The next video, we're gonna get into my roommate that had troubles with alcohol. Actually, we'll talk about both roommates because this girl was a hot mess. But again, I'm not gonna say their names now. I did say that other guy's name, but there's probably more than one of those, so whatever. Anyways, on to the next video.